Well, today we're diving into some pretty fascinating stuff. We're going to be looking at the work of Evan Lerner,
Oh, okay.
a cancer and trauma recovery coach and clinical hypnotherapist. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, his name's been floating around, and I have to say, some of his claims are,
Pretty bold.
they are, yeah. Like, he talks about using, get this, the restorative power of your mind to heal.
Right.
And when you see his background, TEDx speaker, author, it makes you stop and think,
It's not every day you come across someone saying they can help people propel their ability to heal from cancer and trauma.
it's definitely not your average self-help guru, that's for sure. And he seems to come at it from all these different angles.
Mm-hmm.
Cancer wellness and immune enhancement, trauma recovery, and then, of course, there's the hypnotherapy.
Right, and there's even that rapid trauma solution thing he offers.
Oh, yeah. That one definitely caught my eye.
It's certainly a catchy name,
Yeah.
but I think it speaks to how multidisciplinary learners' work seems to be.
Yeah, totally. We're talking about where psychotherapy, oncology, mind-body medicine, all of that intersects. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. So before we get into the how-to, the specifics of his methods, I think it'd be helpful to hear from some people who actually worked with him. You gathered some testimonials from his clients, right?
I did, and there are some pretty compelling stories in there.
Some that really stood out to you.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, we've got Michelle L., for example. She credits Lerner with, like, completely turning her life around.
Wow.
And then there's Farah M., who used his stuff to overcome some serious trauma and ended up, like, excelling academically, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. It's one thing to, address the trauma, but to then see that translate into, like, tangible success in other areas of life.
Exactly, and it makes you think, like, what else is possible? And then there were these two, Diane C. and Paul G., both traveled, like, crazy distances to work with this guy.
How far are we talking?
I think Diane had stage 5E cancer, and she traveled 500 miles. Can you believe that?
Wow, 500 miles, that's a statement.
Yeah, and Paul, he went, I don't remember exactly, but it was a significant distance, too.
It does make you wonder, what is it about Lerner's approach that makes people, especially those dealing with such serious stuff, like Diane with stage 4V cancer, what makes them decide, okay, I'm going to travel all this way to work with this guy?
Right. Like, they're clearly looking for something beyond the usual treatments, you know what I mean?
Totally. It's like they're hoping he has this, like, secret ingredient or something.
And it's important to keep in mind, of course, that these are just individual stories. What worked for them might not work for everyone.
Oh, for sure. But I do think there's something to be said for, like, the consistency across these stories. So many of them talk about feeling stuck before finding Lerner.
It's true. And I think that resonates with a lot of people, that feeling of being stuck, of hitting a wall with traditional approaches. And it's in those moments that we start looking for, alternative solutions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it can't just be about, feel-good stories and hope. There has to be some, like, substance to it, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does the science actually say about this whole mind-body connection thing?
Well, the science is actually pretty fascinating. There's a growing body of research that suggests that our thoughts and emotions, like, they directly impact our physical health. It's not as woo-woo as it used to sound.
So there's actual evidence to back this up.
Oh, yeah. There was this study, it was done by Dr. Janice Kiecolt-Glaser at Ohio State University.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of her.
She found that chronic stress, and this is, like, really important, chronic stress, can actually suppress the activity of certain immune cells. And this means we're more vulnerable to getting sick. And there's even a chance it can affect things like, how cancer progresses.
So you're saying our thoughts and emotions can, like, literally impact our immunity, our body's ability to fight off disease.
That's what the research suggests.
Wow. Okay, so that's chronic stress. But how does Lerner tie this back to, like, cancer and trauma specifically?
Well, he talks a lot about addressing and I'm using his words here, the root cause of these issues.
Okay, so what does that even mean?
He seems to be saying that there are underlying psychological and emotional patterns that could be contributing to these conditions. So it's not just about treating the cancer itself or the symptoms of the trauma. It's about looking deeper at the individual's emotional landscape, their stress levels, their history, and seeing how all of that might be connected to their physical well-being.
So instead of just, like, going after the tumor, you're saying he's trying to understand the person, the whole person.
Yeah. And, this holistic view, it's getting more attention these days, especially in fields like psychoneuroimmunology. That's a whole
Say that again?
psychoneuroimmunology. It's a mouthful, but it basically studies how our nervous system, immune system, and psychological processes, how they all interact.
Right, right. Like how they all influence each other.
Exactly. It's still kind of out there for some people, but it's gaining traction.
I mean, it's kind of wild when you think about it. Like, there's so much we don't get about how the mind and body work together. But this idea that, like, dealing with emotional stuff, trauma, all of that, could actually impact something as, like, powerful and scary as cancer, it really does make you think.
No, absolutely. It is paradigm shifting. And I think that's where the exciting part of learners' work and really this whole field comes in. It's not about saying, okay, think positive and you're cured.
Right.
It's more nuanced than that. It's about recognizing that the mind, it might play a much bigger role in how we heal than we previously thought. And that's alongside conventional treatments, not instead of them.
So it's not about ditching chemo or surgery or anything like that, but it's about maybe like making those things work better by looking at the whole picture.
Exactly. It's about giving people, patients, tools, or ways to tap into what they already have within themselves, exploring stuff like hypnosis, mindfulness, and seeing how that can work with their treatment plan.
So it's like learners saying, hey, here's some extra things you can try. Like, think about your health and well-being in a new way.
That's a good way to put it. And I think that's what's so interesting about this whole deep dive, right? Even if you don't buy into everything Learner says, it makes you question what you think you know about healing. It challenges you to look at things differently, to see the potential we all have to influence our own well-being.
It's like we always assume the mind and body are separate, but really they're all part of this one big messy system.
And a powerful one.
Yeah, definitely gives you a lot to think about. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me. I know I've got a lot to mull over.
Anytime. It was a good one.